My name is Parker Reiner, and for my final project I have been assigned the following learning target from Semester 1. Students will analyze the reasons behind the popularity of the progressive movement among the majority of the population. This learning target talks about what the progressive movement was, how the progressive movement was viewed by the society, and the reasons for which they viewed it that way. The four goals of the progressive movement were 1. Protecting social welfare, 2. Promoting moral improvement, 3. Creating economic reform, and 4. Fostering efficiency. These all contributed to the popularity of the progressive movement in different ways. The progressive movement aimed to return control of the government to the people, restore economic opportunities, and correct injustices in American life. The first reason why the majority of the population liked the progressive movement is because it protected social welfare. By protecting social welfare, it allowed the majority of the people to have better lives by having better jobs and better living conditions. It also aimed to help the poor through community centers, churches, and social services. The Young Men's Christian Association, or the YMCA, opened libraries, sponsored classes, and built swimming pools and handball courts. Many women were inspired by this. They started working toward improving the lives of women and children. The second goal for the progressive movement was promoting moral improvement. Reformers wanted immigrants and poor city dwellers to uplift themselves by improving their personal behavior. Prohibition, or the banning of alcoholic beverages, was one program that was thought to help this. Prohibitionist groups feared that alcohol was undermining American morals. Founded in Cleveland in 1874, the Women's Christian Temperance Union, or WCTU, worked to get drinking outlawed. In 1919, drinking alcoholic beverages was banned, becoming the 18th Amendment. Sometimes, though, efforts at prohibition led to trouble in immigrant groups, because sometimes drinking alcohol was part of their cultural celebrations and/or customs. The third goal for the progressive movement was creating economic reform. Because some people were unhappy with the uneven amount of money that big business and government had compared to the average person, it made them start to question the capitalist economic system. Because of this, some Americans started to embrace socialism, especially workers. Some big business often received favorable treatment from government officials and politicians, and could use their economic power to limit competition. There was a lot of corruption in business and public life that journalists wrote about. These journalists were called muckrakers because they wanted to clean up the mess. The fourth goal for the progressive movement was fostering efficiency. Fostering efficiency was the way to make the government run as smoothly as possible. The people put experts and scientific principles in charge in order to make society and the average workplace more efficient. Assembly lines sped up production, but also required the people to work like machines. This caused a high work turnover, often due to injuries suffered by fatigued workers. To keep automobile workers happy and to prevent strikes because of their harsh working conditions, Henry Ford reduced the workday to 8 hours and paid workers $5 a day. These efforts were improving efficiency, an important part of progressivism, targeted not only industry but government as well. There were a few ways that the progressive movement was viewed by the society. Some people liked the start of the progressive movement because of the better increase in safety for factory workers. Others found that the progressive movement was trying to decrease the power of single business. Some people disagreed with this change. They were against a change in work and women's rights. Women were inspired by all the new change that was happening, so they started to advocate for improving the lives of women and children. Florence Kelley became an advocate for improving the lives of women and children. She was appointed chief inspector of factories for Illinois after she had helped to win passage of the Illinois Factory Act in 1893. The act, which prohibited child labor and limited women's working hours, soon became a model for other states. The people viewed the progressive movement in the ways they did, based mostly on where they stood in the situation. Factory workers were not opposed to the idea of shortened work hours, safer working conditions, and an increase in pay. People who didn't work in factories were less likely to care, or like the idea. Women liked it because they were increased importance in society. More children were able to go to school because they didn't have to work in factories as long as well.